happy. In this country, we say happy.
Thank you for correcting my English, which stinks.
I didn't see that coming. That just popped up on me. Well, indeed, Happy New Year on this January 5th of 2026. Well, we're almost 1 year into, almost, not quite, on the 20th of this month, we'll be 1 year into the second presidential term of Donald Trump. And Democrat heads explode every day, which is kind of fun. What was that movie? It was called Scanners, right? Scanners, where the heads exploded. Little did we know that that movie was foreshadowing the Democrat Party's trajectory. A very good morning to you, and welcome. Welcome back. I have, some of you might have noticed, I've been gone. I haven't been here on the radio, nor have I been on Newsmax on the television for the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks. That's nuts. I got to tell you, getting up this morning, I was like, those 2 weeks ended? There's no more of that. I was going to say I got to shave, but I was running behind this morning, so I didn't shave either. I'll have to shave before I go do TV. You don't really, it's one of the things about radio. You don't have to wear a tie. You don't have to wear makeup in TV. They put makeup even on men's faces. It's pretty strange. But gosh, Happy New Year. I hope you all had I've been gone for a long time. Talking to my best girl about it this morning. I said this is the first time in more than 20 years that I've had 2 weeks off. First time in more than 20 years that I've had 2 weeks off where I wasn't off doing the business of the radio and the television and flying to different continents and doing lots of fun things mostly. But 2 weeks with no work. It was quite amazing. And we did it for 2 weeks. We didn't even talk about this, but we talked about it this morning. Been 20 years since I had 2 weeks off, and my best girl was working while we were off for the last 2 weeks. Not 24 hours a day, but she's working real good. Nose to the grindstone, because that's how it is. But enough about me. Let's talk about you. Anything going on in the world? Anybody notice? Is there any news that we might talk about? A couple of things happened while I was off being lazy and not doing my job. And one of them is that, and there are so many crazy things because and really, again, I have the Democrat Party to thank for all of this. And mental illness. I have mental illness to thank for a great deal of the materials that I'm supplied every single day by the Democrat Party. But they are now pro-Nicolas Maduro. The Democrat Party they're pro-Hamas, they're pro-Hezbollah, they're pro-Iran. They're just not on our side, not even close. But we've had a lot of things happen. The I guess, former president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro. I don't think you probably had time for this, Michael, but Michael and I texted that all the news media people, they're throwing on their Spanish language kind of Mexican drug cartel accent every time they say Nicolas Maduro or Caracas. They say, and you got people named Sean O'Brien. I say, yes, in Caracas, Venezuela. They start getting all tongued up around themselves here. And Nicolas Maduro. And then they speak English just like me, the next word. But it's difficult being a left-wing lunatic, isn't it? In any case, you probably noticed that Nicolas Maduro, the now apparently former president of Venezuela, has been taken into custody, and Delta Force, great American U.S. Army special operations fighting element in the U.S. military, went into Caracas in Venezuela, and they arrested Nicolas Maduro and the trampy woman that he runs around with. Is she a commie, too? Of course she is. She's a commie. Commie men don't hang out with capitalist women. They'd have to kill everybody. That's the thing. But Nicolas Maduro and his wife, who doesn't look very charming, and they were both arrested in a raid. And boy, what a raid it was! It was. I spent 10 years at the Pentagon covering every military action in that 10-year period, basically 95 to 2005. And this was a humdinger. This was really something. And we have a friend who is a now former Delta Force guy, and the capabilities that these guys bring and the things that they do when assigned to do so. Just extraordinary. And this was an extraordinary operation. And now Nicolas Maduro is in a jail, a prison in New York. He was flown up there. Looked like a nice airplane, didn't it? It looked like a nice 757 U.S. government airplane. Boeing aircraft, courtesy of who? Of the patriarchy. Of the patriarchy. And America, you're welcome. It's pretty amazing stuff. But they're both, and his gal pal, she's haven't seen as many perp walk videos of her. Might be culturally insensitive or something, but they're in the Slammer up in New York. They got other celebrities in the jail too, because Democrats, they love prison, and that's why they commit all these crimes. But we've got that going on, and we've got. I should mention actually that we're at 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625, and if you have anything to say over the last 2 weeks or all the big news stories going on. Just amazing stuff that we have. But yes, 888-630-9625. And the Democrats, they have saddled up with Nicolas Maduro now because they're basically commies. Oh, speaking of commies, you see the new communist mayor of New York, and he's just a complete communist, except the parts that are jihadi. But I'm envisioning death camps and like the New York City subways or something before this guy's done. But he has saddled up and put lip gloss on to go hang out with Nicolas Maduro. But my best girl had a good suggestion this morning. I will confess, we were in our pajamas. We were sitting up in bed and having hard-boiled eggs and watching the television and the news and all these things. And my best girl said, Zoran Mamdani, he should go to jail where Nicolas Maduro is currently residing and have a nice talk with him about the virtues of socialism and all the good things you can do with socialism. And Nicolas Maduro can explain to Zoran Mamdani how this all works. But really, New York Democrats have elected. He's the combo opa, as they say in Greek restaurants. He's a communist who will steal everything. You see this lady? He's got a new lady in New York. Who's that? What is she? The housing authority lady? And she's talking about stealing houses from white people. She's white, but they're all very severely mentally impaired. All right? So what are they? Severely mentally impaired Democrats. SMIDs. And there are millions and millions of them. Very, very unwell. But this new lady, I've got audio of her, and she posted a video very proudly that white, and she's white, and these white liberal women that we've been talking about for years now, that are the pox on Western civilization, and they're Democrat women in the United States of America, pretty much no place else. But she's saying that, we're just going to have to get over our idea of private property, right? And what did that remind you of this morning, Michael? Melissa Harris Perry, who said that we have to get over the idea that parents own their children and think of the children as being wards of the state, I guess, or a part of the state. But these people are communists. They're not Americans by any definition that I'm aware of. Just extraordinary. And here is left-wing radicals at Mediaite, for example, headline. And I'm going to get to that New York stuff because it's berserk. This is considered to be, and I got to tell you, ABC News and New York and the New York Times, they see this going on and they shrug and say, let's go get some methamphetamine and cheat on our wives. That's because they're Democrats. It's what they do. But here is the left-winger outfit, Mediaite. Mamdani accuses Trump of violating international law as Maduro is transported to New York City. He had a lot of nice transportation. He did helicopters. He's flying around like he's a rich guy. Oh, wait, he is a rich guy. And his predecessor, Hugo Chavez's daughter is apparently worth more than $4 billion. She picked up some overtime shifts down at the Taco Bell. Is that racist to say Taco Bell when you're talking about Venezuela? Because they prefer burritos. Breakfast burritos. I just had a flashback to Dr. Jill Biden, who's not a doctor. But here's Mamdani, the commie, jihadi. In New York City, the Democrats, they elected ISIS along with Hugo Chavez to become the mayor of New York City. The governor of New York State is not a lot better. But pretty amazing stuff. And Mamdani, the Democrat, New York City mayor, and he was sworn in as mayor now, a total commie. Did you see he was sworn in first in secret at midnight in an old abandoned subway stop? Did that remind you of, the Superman movie with Christopher Reeve where Lex Luthor had his secret lair underground in an abandoned old New York City subway stop and subway station? That was right. And are we going to Addis Ababa, Mr. Luthor? And that's where he did it. And he had the commie, another commie, State of New York Attorney General, who has just been riding on horseback with a lynch mob to come after President Trump. And she swore him in on a Koran, and then he killed her. That was kind of weird. You see, he shot her in the head. I didn't expect that. Didn't see that coming. But there it is. He didn't really shoot her in the head. It would have been, I'll just say, interesting if he had, rather than funny or funnier. But there it is. Yeah, Mamdani accuses Trump of violating international law because he's a defender of international drug cartels and of international drug cartel chieftains who are career criminals. And, the Democrats like Senator Chris Van Hollen, we got him today too, who went to El Salvador to sit down with Kilmore Abrego Garcia, a gang member, wife beater, baby mama beater, human trafficker, and hero of the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party has abandoned Western norms. They're not really a Western, meaning Western civilization. It starts at Western Europe, and then it comes here, and we're the dominant. We're the hat. We're the big boy in the crowd here. But these guys, they're just not on our side in any way. Mayor Mamdani's comrades in DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, nothing democratic about them, demand, as they never request, they always demand. They've got AK-47s slung over their shoulders at this point. Mayor Mamdani's comrades in DSA, Democratic Socialist America, the New York Post writes, demand Trump release Nicolas Maduro. And look, the Democratic Socialists, that's the mainstream of the Democrat Party. We should be screaming. And, of course, they've got the commie Bernie Sanders, who honeymooned in the USSR and the Soviet Union. They're just amazing, amazing things. All right, but the big dog, and this is big because now it's like, what do they call that? The crate and barrel rule or something that Home Depot, I don't know, you broke it, you bought it, I can't remember. But, and President Trump is saying, well, we're in charge of Venezuela now. And I've got to say a lot of people, including me, said, oh, well, now we're in charge of Venezuela. For how long are we going to be in charge of Venezuela? Now we have to have elections so that they're democratic and not democratic socialist. And, President Trump, he rolled this grenade down the hall. And also, here's the, now there are going to be repercussions for some time now. But I think President Trump has his act together. He's got good people around him. And I think Marco Rubio is now the president of Venezuela, right? The acting president of Venezuela. He's got 5 other jobs right now, full-time jobs. But isn't that amazing? And so now we're kind of on the hook for what happens in Venezuela for quite some time now. Democracy would be good. But, And Nicolas Maduro, and I welcome your take on all of this, of course, because that's why we're here. This is real democracy, not, CNN. But we're at 888-630-9625. And Delta Force, just great. They don't get enough appreciation. They don't get enough love. SEAL Team 6 we hear about a lot. But the Army version of SEAL Team 6 is Delta Force. And, boy, this was smooth as silk. A couple of guys got hit, and because they're Delta Force, they're not out there saying, oh, yeah, I got shot in the arm and I'll be okay. They're not saying anything. They're like, yeah, I'm going to walk it off because they're Delta. But what is Delta Force? U.S. military unit behind Venezuelan operation. Newsweek magazine had to look into it because they don't know. And, where did all these protests come from in New York and across the country in favor of Nicolas Maduro? How did that happen so quickly? Those lefties are really organized when they want to be like the tunnel rats in the Gaza Strip. Aren't they amazing? They love terrorists. They love terrorism. They're the left. Oh, J.D. Vance, speaking of violent terrorist Democrats, J.D. Vance's home in Ohio was attacked by a violent mob of Democrats. J.D. Vance wasn't there at the time, but it's his home in Ohio, where he lived until he became vice president. And they attacked, and there are reports of gunfire. The Democrat Party is engaged. Is it civil war? Huh? Hey, Maria, is it civil war? I don't know. You call in today, you're going to talk to Maria when you call in. And at least 16 killed by the Iranian regime in Iran. They're protesting for freedom. Zohran Mamdani is against freedom and for killing 16 people. And I got to tell you, turns out private property in New York, at least, is another example of white supremacy. I've got that coming up.
As unique as the breakfast tacos here in San Antonio.
All right, let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Brad, calling from beautiful Key West, Florida. Bradley, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Chris, thank you so much again.
Hey, man.
First of all, praise to Barbara Ann's. Second of all, the weather here is the best in America right now. Third of all, I wanted to bring up about the president being abducted from Venezuela.
Uh-huh.
And how that is okay, but for us to take illegals out of our country is not.
Well, one of the great memes from the last couple of days is that the Democrats finally identified a Venezuelan criminal, gang member, drug trafficker that they don't want coming into the United States. This is the first for the Democrats. The Democrat Party, Brad, is just not on Team America. And they are,
I agree.
You know, the more anti-American you are, the more you can depend on the support of the Democrat Party. I mean, if you're ISIS, if you're Al-Qaeda, if you're Nicolas Maduro, then you're Cuba, communist Cuba, they're on your side. And if you're a patriotic, flag-waving American who serves in the military, if you're law enforcement, the Democrat Party is waging jihad against you. Am I right, Brad?
I was military and police.
No kidding,
I also want to know how was your holiday?
Well, I'll talk a little bit about that, but it was really great. It was nice to just sleep in and have a few days off. Real nice. And if you call into our humble radio broadcast today, you will speak to Maria. Maria will be your gateway host. It's like a gateway drug. It's a gateway host. But we've got a lot of crazy. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, on with just a fraud of a fake journalist. This woman, Margaret Brennan, on CBS, Face the Nation yesterday. Face the Meat. I always like to combine Meet the Press and Face the Nation. If you combine Face the Nation and Meet the Press, what would you call it? Face the meat, meet the face. How would you describe that? But we've got that Marco Rubio was on there, and he was kind of rolling his eyes and sucking his teeth, and like, wow, who do you work for again, Margaret Brennan? But we've got that President Trump came back from Florida last night aboard Air Force One because he's president of the United States, and Hillary Clinton isn't, nor is Kamala Harris. So I've got some good news to report with the beginning of the new year. That is that Hillary Clinton still wakes up crying every night, which is kind of fun. But Venezuela, these are not the good guys. The Democrats, these are not the good guys either. Boy, the Democrats are, I've been saying for a long, long time now. I got to say, I don't like to throng my own rhyme. But these things that I've been saying about the Democrats for 15 years, more, maybe a full 20 years, they just keep proving me right. And you can't be cynical enough when it comes to the Democrat Party. They're not the good guys. Generous understatement. All right, before I get to a bunch of audio, because I've been gone for 2 weeks and there's so much to talk about, let's go back to the big phone board. Go to the big board. We got the big board here. It's actually on a screen in front of a computer screen in front of my face, but next to the other computer screen in front of my face with multiple windows up with things on, blah, blah, blah. All right, let's go back to the telephones. Let's go to Chris calling from, I like to call it the Garden State, from New Jersey. Christopher, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
How you doing, Chris? Welcome back. Yeah,
you.
so what I was telling the screener was, so for years they were talking about Trump's Putin's puppet, but this, literally, the Democrats are showing just how communist they are because they're fighting for Maduro, which is 100% what Putin wants. More than anything in this hemisphere, he wants to keep Maduro in power, just like the commies in China and everything else, because the Democrats, like you say, are not on our side.
That's a fact check, and they just keep proving me right with each rotation of the planet. It's pretty extraordinary stuff. And
one more thing, Chris.
Yeah.
Because I was in the Army for 23 years, and I remember during the Gulf War, and I've heard for every single incident we've had, this is going to be our next Vietnam. Can we stop doing the Vietnam? I remember telling somebody the other day, I said, we're going to go in, we're going to obliterate them, and that would be it. There won't be a war.
Well, there's certainly no prolonged war. The Democrats are hoping that they can. You may remember the fake news media erased it from the collective memory, but Barack Obama and our chief diplomat at the time, Hillary Diane Rodham Clinton, decided it'd be a good idea to go into Libya when Muammar Gaddafi, a bad guy, was in charge of the country. And I remember Barack Obama had a line. I was texting with my brother about this last night, one of my brothers, and Barack Obama famously said of his launching a campaign to use the U.S. military to attack Libya, one of 8 countries that Barack Obama's administration used the U.S. military to attack and to kill people. Just extraordinary. But he said, at the time, this is a campaign, it was a bombing campaign, that will last days and not weeks. Right? How long did it take? Mm-hmm. Do you remember how long the campaign in Libya was, Chris?
I do not.
I think nobody does. I don't think the editor of the New York Times or George Stephanopoulos remembers. It lasted 8 months. Barack Obama, U.S. military, attacked Libya for 8 months until a mob of angry Libyans grabbed Muammar Gaddafi, a bad guy, and they used a bayonet to give him a colonoscopy, and they actually true, and they butchered him and murdered him. And Hillary Clinton, you remember what Hillary Clinton said? She said at the time,
"We came, we saw, he died."
And you got a bunch of crazy white liberal women laughing about a man having a bayonet wedged up his wingy, and hey, he's a bad guy, and his own people killed him, and that's good. But and then they're laughing. They're all laughing because the left loves death more than we love life, and these people aren't liberals. They're the left. You know, Chris, that Hillary Clinton was an Alinskyite, Saul Alinsky guy. Barack Obama, a Saul Alinsky guy, rules for radicals. Extreme left-wing indoctrination and brainwashing. They call it education. And just extraordinary things. But the Democrat Party, boy, Chris, you know, we Republicans need to start saying it out loud. I mean, Republicans on Capitol Hill. And so the Democrats are not on Team America. They're not on our side. Anytime they see an opportunity to sidle up with somebody who's anti-American, they leap at the opportunity, from gang members out of Central America and Venezuela to, you know, every murderous regime and radical Islamist terrorist organization on planet Earth. They have the Democrat Party as their support network. And it's a pretty big support network, Chris.
I'm behind the Iron Curtain of New Jersey, so I don't know. We got commies all over the place. Yeah,
it's amazing. Christopher, thank you. God bless you. I'm saluting you, 23 years, United States Army. Chris, thank you. Thank you very much. God bless America. God save us all, because we need some saving right about now. All right, let me thank you, Chris. And we are at 888-630-9625. The number of crazy Democrat stories I have today. This woman in New York, and the mayor of New York, he might as well be Nicolas Maduro. He might as well be Hugo Chavez. But you got to throw in a little Osama bin Laden, because he's a genocidal, Jew-hating, racist, Democrat, anti-Semite. And then it gets worse. Because these guys. All right, let's go to some audio, because I know there's a lot of great audio, and I should start getting to it. Let's go to soundbite number 1, kind of unusual. Margaret Brennan of CBS News, Face the Nation, her television show yesterday. And she was just rolling her eyes and curling her lip and scoffing at Marco Rubio and peddling the Democrat Party's talking points and pushing back aggressively. And then she had a Democrat on, and suddenly the tone completely changed. It was like, oh, thank God you're here, and we can start having sex on camera, because it was just journalistic sex. But just amazing stuff. Let's go to Margaret Brennan, to Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, former United States Senator, a Cuban-American from Miami, from Florida. And she said, well, wait a minute. You arrested Nicolas Maduro, but what about all the other leaders in the Maduro regime? Shouldn't you have gone from place to place and arrested an untold number of Venezuelan regime members? Shouldn't our guys still be driving around, honking horns and going from house to house, say, hey, anybody see Juan Pablo? Because we're here to arrest him. Margaret Brennan.
You just described the regime as still in place, essentially. I mean, I'm curious why the Trump administration decided to leave it intact and only arrest Nicolas Maduro and his wife, the person who controls the police, the chief thug, Diaz-Cabello. He's the interior minister. He's been indicted by the United States. He was in that indictment the administration released. He's a narco-terrorist. There's a $25 million price on his head. He's still in place. The defense minister, who has deep ties to Russia, $15 million price on his head. He is still in place. I'm confused. Are they still wanted by the United States? Why didn't you arrest them if you are taking out the narco-terrorist regime?
I'm confused was the most important part of that soundbite. Shouldn't you have gone around and arrested the head of the police? We got a Padeo. We've got a $25 million bounty on him and another one of the thugs. They're commies. Now, all right, Margaret Brennan, and she was furious, furrowed brow, curled lip, and she's wagging her finger at him, borrowed a pen from somebody to look substantive and all that. And she just and really aggressively. So, Margaret, you think we should still be there driving around arresting people that you think should be arrested? We should invade the country completely? Now, the president of the country, who's a bad actor given the country by Hugo Chavez, stolen elections ever since. And, I've got good. Why did President Trump go after Nicolas Maduro? I've got this is really great, actually. Did President Trump grab Nicolas Maduro so that in court, Nicolas Maduro can be asked about tampering, about Venezuelan tampering in the American presidential elections and the voting machines? This is a big element. And we ought to hear the Democrats in the streets of New York and stuff support, hey, free Maduro, free Maduro. And who's worse, Nicolas Maduro as mayor of New York or Zoran Mamdani? Who would be worse? Because Zoran Mamdani could technically be the mayor of New York. Don't have to be a U.S. citizen or anything. But Margaret Brennan was given the Democrat talking points. Shouldn't you still be there driving around arresting people, getting Americans killed in combat? We apparently did have 2 men wounded, Delta guys, helicopter shot at, ground fire, 2 men wounded, and they're Delta, so they're just not talking about it. If we had any reporters, they'd be finding out about it, but we don't. Marco Rubio responding to the fraud Brennan.
You're confused? I don't know why that's confusing to you.
They're still in power.
It's very simple. You're not going to go in and wrap up. But you can't go. You're going to go in and suck up 5 people. They're already complaining about this one operation. Imagine the howls we would have from everybody else if we actually had to go and stay there 4 days to capture 4 other people.
Dummy. Your first day on the job, Margaret Brennan, have you ever seen a military operation before? Marco Rubio, Secretary of State.
It is not easy to land helicopters in the middle of the largest military base in the country. The guy lived on a military base. Land within 3 minutes, kick down his door, grab him, put him in handcuffs, read him his rights, put him in a helicopter, and leave the country without losing any American or any American assets. That's not an easy mission. And you're asking me why didn't we do that in 5 other places at the same time? I mean, that's absurd.
Yeah, how many teams should go in? We had 120-plus aircraft involved in this operation. Now you want to go after 5 more. That's what does that bring us to? Like 500-600 aircraft. And we'll have Delta Force over here and SEAL Team 6 over here and SEAL Team 7 over there. Got all this great stuff going on. Marco Rubio is having none of it on Face the Nation.
I do think this is one of the most, daring, complicated, sophisticated missions this country has carried out in a very long time. Tremendous credit to the U.S. military personnel who did it. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. She's like, yeah. I've got my Democrat Party issued talking points here. Marco Rubio on Face the Nation.
What that regime relies on and is their economy fueled by oil. And right now it is an oil industry that is backwards. You go get a court order, we will seize it. That remains in place. And that's a tremendous amount of leverage that will continue to be in place until we see changes that not just further the national interest of the United States, which is number one, but also that lead to a better future for the people of Venezuela.
Which is an interesting idea. Are you aware of the fact that everybody seems to have forgotten about this? That Joe Biden, do you know who he is? He doesn't. But Joe Biden put a $25 million bounty on the head of Nicolas Maduro. But then if you go grab him, then they immediately oppose you because of their extreme mental incapacity as Democrats. Biden raises bounty for Nicolas Maduro to $25 million. The United States will also extend temporary protections for roughly 600,000 Venezuelan migrants in the United States. Biden sees 600,000 illegal aliens. He hopes that they're all gang members and said, let's get special protections for the gang members, the non-English speaking, tattoos on their face gang members by the hundreds of thousands. 8 million people fled Venezuela because turns out socialism isn't as cool as the Democrats think. But isn't that amazing? So Joe Biden with a $25 million bounty, and then and Joe Biden's not out there talking to the press or anything. He never was. But aren't they amazing? And then President Trump upped it to $50 million. I think nobody's going to get it because our Delta Force guys won't get the but that's too bad. On Air Force One last night, coming home from Mar-a-Lago in Florida and Palm Beach, the president, of course, did an ongoing in-flight interview with scads of press people who asked him anything they want, and he answered all day long, unlike Joe Biden, unlike Barack Obama, unlike any filthy, rotten, stinky Democrat, which might a picture of Hillary Clinton flashed through my mind when I said that out loud. President Trump on Air Force One last night, and a perfectly legitimate question from a reporter here. Maduro's gone. Who's in charge in Venezuela now?
Who's in charge of Venezuela right now? Have you spoken to the newly sworn-in president there, Rodriguez?
We're dealing with the people. We're dealing with the people that just got sworn in. And don't ask me who's in charge because I'll give you an answer and it'll be very controversial.
What does that mean?
It'll be we're in charge.
You've been spoken with her?
No, I haven't, but other people
Do you want
have.
to?
Yeah, at the right time I will.
Yeah, at the right time I will. He hasn't yet. And you can tell he's completely sincere. He probably called her after he got done with the interview on Air Force One. This is a major sea change in the Western Hemisphere. It is a politically, economically, in terms of energy, the drugs, and the marker thrown down here by President Trump is, who was the lady on CNN used the word unprecedented like 64 times. But this is pretty much unprecedented. Fly in, Delta Force, grab the president of a country because he's a career criminal, a drug trafficker. He's got political prisoners all over the place. These are the bad guys. The Democrats are with the bad guys. Name the bad guys anywhere in the world. The Democrats are with them. Joe Biden and Xi Jinping, Hunter Biden and Xi Jinping, Chinese communists. What were they doing in Ukraine? Why did Hunter Biden get $1 million a year salary for a no-show job with a gas company when he had no experience in Ukraine or in the energy industry or with gas companies? The Democrats love corruption. Why?
I'm confused.
You're confused? I don't know why that's confusing to you.
They're still in power.
Oh, yeah, the always reliably useless Tim Walz, the failed governor of Minnesota and Democrat vice presidential running mate, has announced that he's dropping out of the race for governor in Minnesota because he's going to move to Tijuana and join a drug cartel. I made up the last part. He didn't put that in his statement. Then I'll go hang out with Tren de Aragua or something. Let's go to the telephones, talk to the nice, smart people. Let's go to Al, calling from Leesburg, Virginia. Al, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Chris, Happy New Year to you, my friend. Welcome back, and God bless you for telling it like it is on the air. I want to just say a couple of things. Number one, I'm a Venezuelan American, born and raised in New York City. Most of my life I lived there. And it's despicable how these Democrats, liberals are reacting to the takedown of Maduro, who has caused lots and lots of, along with the other cartels, lots of murders with the drugs and people dying all over the United States with fentanyl, cocaine, and other parts of the world. And what's interesting is you don't hear one Venezuelan complaining about his takedown. They're all dancing in the streets of, Miami, parts of New York, everywhere you go. And I still have family in Venezuela. I spoke to one of my cousins. She heard the bombings, but later on, she was texting me throughout the night. And at the end, she what she said to me, and she was crying in tears when we spoke, tears of joy, and said, Venezuela is now free. And I mean, just to hear those words, right. Come from her mouth. And I used to travel there a lot. I used to go there. I haven't been there in 20 years. I would like to go back. If you talk to Venezuelans here in the U.S., and I've spoken to some of them, friends and family that are here, they'll tell you we can't wait to go back, not to live, but to visit.
Yeah. Well, and the Democrats may obstruct that, too. And will Cuba fall now? The Democrats are not on our side.